I just want to show a close-up of the beautiful shawls or wraps. Here's a close-up of the beautiful pattern and the flowers that are inside of it. Here's the aqua ombre colored one. You can see the beautiful blues that it has in it. And then I chose a different sparkly blue for the flowers, the beautiful flowers. You can place the ties wherever you want on yours. For the aquamarine colored one, I put one on each of the corners. But for the white colored one, I only put it into the top two corners and not in the bottom corners, because this one's more if you want to wrap it around your waist as well. The sizes, I made two different sizes. The white shawl has 41 rows and 4 total roses and measures 44 inches by 16 inches. And the aqua colored shawl has a total of 55 rows with a total of 6 roses, and it measures 68 inches by 16 inches. For the larger aqua ombre shawl, I put ties on both ends, on all 4 ends. That way your arm can come through. I tied the 2 ends together, that way your arm can come through the hole that's created as it's draped around your shoulders. There's a separate video tutorial if you like the little cat head design. There's a little collar at the bottom with a nice bell. It also has a little heart button that holds the strap onto the little keychain. For this project I used my N or 9mm crochet hook, and I also used a tapestry needle and a pair of scissors. The beads are optional. I put beads on one of the ones that I'm going to show you, the one that I'm going to show on video, and the beads that I used were from Bead Treasures, glass beads, white, this white pearly colored 6, and it has the larger holes. Just make sure that you use a tapestry needle that has a slender eye that will fit through the beads, and then you're going to need your yarn threader or DMC yarn threader. Just so you know that if you're going to put beads onto your flip-flops or your shawl, that they're not easy, and it takes time, it takes longer if you're going to use these. So they do require a lot of patience if you decide that you want to put the beads on, unless you get the kind of beads that slip easily onto your yarn. If you want to put beads on your shawl, then you're going to need to put them on first before you start crocheting. And how you do that is you take your tapestry needle that you know will fit the beads, fit through the beads. You're going to take your DMC yarn threader and just put it right through the eye of the tapestry needle. Then you're going to hook your yarn and then bring the hook back through. And the easiest way that I've found to do this is you're going to move the DMC yarn threader up and down. Just jiggle it and bring the yarn through. Don't worry if you're using the metallic portion yarn. Don't worry if it snags or breaks, because this is just for putting the beads on. So we'll cut the portion that the metallic portion came off of before you start crocheting. But you can see how the yarn goes right through your tapestry needle and is ready for placing the beads. Then you just take your bead, place it right onto the tapestry needle, and then just feed it onto the yarn. You're going to put as many as you want for the first portion that you're crocheting. So you want to make sure that you have the amount of beads that you want for the first portion of your shawl. Don't worry about putting too many beads on in the beginning. I usually load about 24 beads on at a time, because you're going to be sewing on your rows and getting an opportunity to put some more yarn on before you join and start your next row. The yarn that I used for this project is I Love This Cotton. Super soft, super savings. The color is Spark. Has a free pattern that's included. Sometimes it's knit, sometimes it's crochet. And here's some more information on the yarn. This yarn is 97% cotton with a 3% metallic polyester, which gives it a nice glittery look to it. But you don't have to use, you could use 100% cotton also if you wanted. You're going to need 4 skeins of this yarn for this project. If you liked my other beach shawl or other shawl that I made, the color that I used was Aqua Ombre. And you also needed 4 skeins of this. And also I used a metallic lighter blue for the roses. You're going to have leftover, if you choose to do this colored shawl, leftover metallic light blue for the roses. And then with the extra that you have of the 4th skein left over, you could make a bag, which I show how to make a bag with that one. If you want to make the bag for this, is going to be in a separate video tutorial. The first thing I'm going to do is show you how to make the rows. You're going to make a slip knot first with whatever color yarn that you're going to use for your rows. Just fold over into a loop. Then take your crochet hook and put it right inside of the loop. Hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and thumb. Then you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and go through the loop for a slip knot. Then you're going to make a chain of 4. Then you're going to take your crochet hook and go into that first chain that you made to form a circle. And we're going to make a slip knot to form it into a circle. So you just yarn over, turn the hook upside down, and bring the hook through both loops on the hook for a slip knot. Then you formed a circle. You're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to make a single crochet into the center of the circle. And you're going to do that 5 times. Chain 3, go into the center of the circle. This is my second one. And you can see how you're making loops. Go ahead, finish doing this 5 times and then come back. Now you should have 5 loops, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then you're going to chain 3. And then you're going to slip stitch into that first chain that you made. Then you're going to go into that first loop and make a single crochet. And now we're going to make our shell into that first chain 3 loop. So the first thing we're going to do is make a half double crochet, yarn over, go into that first chain 3 loop, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through all 3 for a half double crochet. Then you're going to make 3 double crochet into the same chain 3 loop. So yarn over, go into that chain 3 loop, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, 2 loops remaining, yarn over and go through 2. Then you're going to make 2 more double crochet into the same chain 3 loop. Then you're going to make a half double crochet. And then you're going to make a single crochet in the same chain 3 loop. And then that will finish up your shell. And that's what your shell is going to look like. In each of the chain 3 loops, I'm going to do one more with you. Now I'm going to move over to the next chain 3 loop, make a single crochet, then a half double crochet, then 3 double crochet, then a half double crochet, then a single crochet. Go ahead and repeat this shell in every chain 3 space and then come back. Then when you finish your last shell, then you're going to make a slip stitch into that first single crochet that you made in the initial shell. So you just yarn over, bring the yarn through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then you're going to finish off, just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to sew the flower onto the shawl. And you could put as many flowers as you want onto your shawl. So we're going to set this aside for now. But before we set it aside, we can go ahead and bury the loose yarn end from the center. Just take your tapestry needle and put that loose yarn end onto the tapestry needle. Then you just weave it through to one of the petals, and then I just go right through the petal. And then I go back through again, just to make sure it's buried well and won't come undone. Then you can take and cut the loose yarn end. And then your rose is ready for sewing onto the shawl. Now when we're ready to start the shawl, if you had the beads, go ahead and push them down towards the skein of yarn, and then we'll bring them forward as we need them. So you're going to take your yarn for the main color of your shawl, and you're just going to take your yarn and fold a loop, then take your crochet hook and put it right through the loop, hold the base of the loop with your middle finger and thumb, and then just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through that loop for a slip knot. Then you just pull the knot around the hook. Then you're going to make your chain. You're going to start with a chain of 45. I'm just going to show you 4 of them. Just yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, 4. Go ahead, finish a chain of 45 and then come back. This is what my chain looks like after I chained 45. Then you're going to take and hold that last chain that you made with your middle finger and your thumb. Then you're going to make a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. And that's going to count as your first double crochet for the next row. Then you're going to make a double crochet into the 4th chain from the hook, which is the stitch that you're holding. Go ahead and yarn over, go into that 4th chain from the hook, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, and then yarn over and go through 2. And this counts as the first 2 double crochet for your shell. Now you're going to make a chain of 2, 1, 2, and then you're going to make 2 more double crochet into the same stitch. So you yarn over, go into the same stitch, make 2 more double crochet, and that's your completed shell on the end. Now you're going to skip 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you're going to make a double crochet into the 5th stitch. So you're going to yarn over, skip 4 stitches, and make a double crochet into the 5th stitch. You're going to make 2 double crochet into the same stitch. And then chain 2. And then 2 more double crochet into the same stitch. And that's the same pattern that you're going to make all the way across to the end. Skip 4, 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet. Now for the next shell, I'm going to show you how to place the bead. I'm going to place 3 beads along this row, just stagger them anywhere. So now I'm going to skip 4 stitches and make a double crochet into the 5th stitch. I'm going to make 1 more double crochet in the same stitch. Then I'm going to chain 1. Now I'm going to place my bead. So I'm just going to bring forward only 1 bead. Then I'm going to chain 1 and then make 2 more double crochet into the same stitch. So that's how you're going to make your shells all the way across and then come back. Then when you finish your last shell on the end, I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to make a double crochet into the last stitch, skip that 1 stitch and make a double crochet into the last stitch. And then you're going to chain 3 to move up to the next row. Then you're going to turn your work. Now you're going to start working into the chain 2 spaces of the previous shell. So here's the previous row's shell, and then here is the chain 2 space. So you're going to yarn over, go into that chain 2 space, make a double crochet, and then you're just going to start making your shells into every chain 2 space. So in this chain 2 space, I'm going to make my shell with a bead. So I'm going to chain 1 and put a bead forward. Chain 1 and then 2 more double crochet. Into the same chain 2 space, and then you have your shells directly above each other. Then you're going to make a double crochet into the next chain 2 space. This chain 2 space has a bead in it, so I'm going to put 2 double crochet onto either side of the bead. So you want the bead to be from the previous row to be in the center of your 2 double crochet parts of the shell. Then I'm going to chain 2 and then make the other 2 double crochet on the other side of the bead. That way you don't bury the bead. And again for this row I'm going to stagger my beads, and I'm putting 3 again on this row somewhere. Go ahead, finish making your shells into each of the chain 2 spaces, and then come back. Now I've reached the other side. I have 1 shell left. I'm going to make my shell into the chain 2 space of that shell. Chain 2, 2 double crochet to complete my shell. Then you're always going to end with a double crochet and a chain 3 to move up to the next row. So here you're going to make your double crochet into that last double crochet on the end. So you just go into that stitch on the end and make your double crochet. And that's how my work looks on the end. Then you're going to chain 3 to move up to the next row. And then you're going to turn your work and repeat. And you're going to do this until you've completed 7 rows. So I'm going to do the first shell with you in the chain 2 space of the previous shells. Chain 2 space. And you can see how my shells are all lining up. This is my first row, second, and this is my third row. Go ahead, complete 7 rows, and then come back and I'll show you how to place your rows. So here I went to the end of this is my third row, but I just want to make sure you know how to make the double crochet into the last stitch. So here you can see the chain 3 that I have. You're going to go into that top stitch of that chain 3. So you just yarn over, go into that top stitch with your crochet hook and make a double crochet. And then you can see how you create a straight edge. Then you chain 3 for your next row, turn your work, and then start again. This is what my work looks like so far. You can see that the edges are straight on both sides, which is what you want. And I finished 7 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now, to sew the rows on, you're going to have to decide which shell that you want to sew your rows on. It doesn't matter which one. I usually alternate. If I put a rose on this side, then after 7 more rows, I'll place the rows on the other side. So for my first one, I'm going to place my rows over this shell, which is 3 in from the right. But since I'm on this side, I'm going to chain 3, turn my work, and then I'm going to make a shell into the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, into the next 6 shells, and then come back. I just finished making my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 shells, and then I reached the shell that I want to put my rows into this area. Now what you're going to do is you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to turn your work and go back. So now you're going to make a double crochet into this chain 2 space. Chain 2, and then make your shell to double crochet, or complete your shell I should say. So I completed my shell. Now you're going to make a shell into your next chain 2 space, and you're going to make a shell all the way back across into each of the chain 2 spaces, and then come back. I'm going to finish this shell with you. So this is how my work looks. Go ahead, finish making a shell in each of the chain 2 spaces back across, and then come back. This is how my work looks so far. I just finished my last shell and double crochet on the end. Now I'm going to go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. Then you're going to take and go across to the other side, and you're going to join the yarn into the top stitch of that double crochet on the end. So the top stitch of the double crochet on the end. And you're just going to take and join the yarn, chain 1, and then just tie a knot. Then you're going to chain 3, then you're going to make a shell into this next shell over, into the next 2 shells, and then leave that 3rd shell unworked because that's where the rose is going to go. So go ahead, finish making your shells into the next 2 shells, and then come back. Then after you finish your second shell, this is how my work looks. I have the 1 shell remaining on the previous row. Then what you're going to do is, after you've finished the 2 shells on this side, you're going to chain 3, turn your work, make a double crochet into the chain 2 space, chain 2, and then make 2 double crochet into that chain 2 space to complete a shell. And then you're going to make one more shell into the last shell. Chain 2. Complete your shell. And then make a double crochet into the top stitch of that double crochet on the end. Then you can finish off and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. So you are going to have a few loose yarn ends with this project. First I'm going to show you how to bury the loose yarn ends, but it'll be up to you whether or not you want to bury them all at the end of your project or in the beginning. So you can see where the gap is where we're going to place our rows. But I'm going to show you how to bury the loose yarn ends first. Just take your tapestry needle, put it onto your loose yarn end, and then you're just going to take and weave the loose yarn end through your work. And I like to weave it to one of the shells, because I can bury them within the bottom of the shell. So here you can see how I'm just going to take and go through the bottom of the shell. And then I like to go back again and go through. That way it is definitely buried and hard for that loose yarn end to come loose. And then you just cut your loose yarn end. Go ahead and bury all your loose yarn ends and then come back. Now we can take the rows and sew it on. Before you sew your rows on, make sure that you have the right side that you want facing up. And then every flower should be facing the same way on the same side after you sew it on. So then you just take the long end that you left for sewing, or just get the same colored yarn. Then you're going to take and you're just going to sew, line up that top where you left the long end for sewing, line that up with the top of the row on the other side, and then just hook a piece. Just going to get a close-up for you. Here you can see how I have that top row and then a stitch of the flower. And then you're just going to take and go back and forth, grabbing a stitch of the flower and a stitch on the shawl, and sewing the flower to the shawl. And you're just going to sew it all along the bottom back to the other side, and then come back. This is what my flower looks like after I've sewn it on. Then you're going to take and join your yarn, but before you join your yarn, if you're using beads, this is an opportunity to put more beads onto your yarn. If you're using beads, go ahead and make sure you have the amount of beads that you want for your next 7 rows. And then you just take your tapestry needle and you're going to join into the top stitch of the top chain of the chain 3 on the end. You're just going to bring up a loop. Make sure that you have enough yarn for burying your loose yarn ends, and then chain 1. And then you're going to tie a knot. Then you're going to chain 3. Then you're going to make a shell into your first chain 2 space. And you're going to make your shells into every chain 2 space until you get to the rows. And then come back and I'll show you where to make the shell on the rows. So when you get to the flower, you can see how I have my row of shells and I've reached my flower. Now with the flower, you're going to want to make sure that your rows of shells still line up. So there's only going to be one shell above the rose or the flower. So you don't want to add too many shells to the flower because then if you add additional rows, it's going to be crooked. So over the rose or the flower, you're only going to have one shell. So I'm going to put my shell, here's the row of shells beneath the flower, and I'm going to center my next shell right in line with the other shells. So I'm just going to yarn over, and then I'm going to go into the flower, the stitch of the flower, and I'm just going to create a shell. So I have my shell on top of the flower, and then I'm going to make a shell into the next chain 2 space and finish up the row the same way. This is what my work looks like after I've reached the end. You can see how I have my row of shells right above the flower. And then you're just going to work another 7 rows and then place another flower. And then this time I place the flower on the opposite side after completing 7 rows. And I'm just going to show you what I mean with my other colored shawl. This is my other beautiful shawl that I made in aqua ombre. And here you could see my one flower sewn in here. And then I did another 7 rows. And then I put the flower on the opposite side so you can see the flowers. And then when I did another 7 rows, put another flower on the other side. So you can see how I alternated opposite sides and it creates a beautiful shawl. For this shawl I completed 55 rows. So you're going to make 55 rows, alternating flowers every 7th row. And I ended up with 6 roses on this one. If you're making the tie, then you put the tie wherever you want to place it, and I'm placing it on my last row with my last shell, and I'm just going to make a chain, just yarn over and go through the loop for 1, 2, 3, and then you just make the chain as long as you want. For mine, I'm going to make a chain of 22. So go ahead, finish making the chain, and then come back and I'll show you what to do next. After you finish your chain, mine is a chain of 22, then you're just going to take your crochet hook and go into the second chain from the hook. And then you're going to bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through both for a single crochet, and then you're just going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch back to the shawl. So go ahead and finish making 1 single crochet into every stitch back to the shawl, and then come back. After you finish the last single crochet in your chain, then you're going to slip stitch into the next stitch over on your shawl. So you just yarn over and pull the yarn through both loops on the hook, and then you're going to finish off, just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. And then go ahead and just bury all of your loose yarn ends and then come back. Now I just want to show you the beach towel bag and what it looks like. I have the ties at the top. There are 2 ties, one on each side. And then you have your beautiful beach towel rolled up on the inside. Here is one of the bags that I show how to make, and I have my shawl inside of this one. So this one also has 2 ties, one on each side. And then on the inside you have the shawl. This is the bag for the other shawl design that I used with aqua ombre color. Again, all of this yarn is 100% cotton. And I used the beautiful blue in there, the shimmering for the flowers, and then the aqua ombre in the rest of the shawl, which made it really gorgeous. Now I just want to show you some different colors. This is the blue, the beautiful blue colored yarn. This is what these flip-flops look like. So you have a different color. And what the beads look like on this one. You can see the beads on this design. Here is what the water bottle holder looks like with the white shimmering yarn. I'm going to drape the yarn across your 4 fingers, use your thumb to stabilize, wrap the yarn around your 2 middle fingers, and then hold it in place with your pinky and your thumb. Then you're going to take your crochet hook, go under those 2 loops around the middle finger, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through the loop for a slip knot. Then you're going to go under those 2 loops again, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through both for a single crochet. Then you're going to chain 2. 1, 2. That's going to count as your first double crochet. You want to make a total of 12 double crochet into the magic circle. So you're going to yarn over, go into the magic circle, bring up a loop, 3 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through 2, 2 loops remaining, yarn over and go through 2. And we're going to keep making double crochets into the magic circle until you have a total of 12. And then come back. So far I have a total of 3. I'm going to make 1 more with you. And then I'll let you finish making a total of 12 double crochet into the magic circle. After you finish the 12 double crochet into the magic circle, you're going to take your forefinger and your thumb and you're going to hold the base of those 12 double crochet. Then you're going to take, you have 2 loops on the opposite side of the 12 double crochet. You're going to pull on one of them. If it doesn't close, let go and pull on the other one until it does close. Then take that loose yarn end and pull on that. Then you can go ahead and form a circle with the 12 double crochet, and you're going to take your crochet hook and you're going to go into that top stitch of that first chain 3 that you made. So you're going to go into the top stitch, you're going to make a slip stitch, you're going to yarn over, turn the hook upside down and go through both loops on the hook for a slip stitch. Then you can take and close the center of the magic circle by turning it over, and then just pull on that loose yarn end, and then that closes up the center of the magic circle. and then you're ready for the next round. You're going to chain 3, and then you're going to make 1 double crochet into the same stitch, so that you have 2 double crochet into the same stitch, and then you're going to make 2 double crochet into every stitch around. So 2 double crochet in every stitch around, and you should end up with a total of 24 double crochet when you're done. And then come back. When you reach the beginning, you're going to make a slip stitch into that top stitch of that first chain 3 that you made. So you just yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on your hook for a slip stitch. Now for the water bottle, you're going to go ahead and start the pattern for the water bottle by making a chain of 3. Then you're going to make a double crochet into the same stitch. Then you're going to chain 1, bring up a bead, then you're going to chain 1 again, and then make 2 double crochet into the same stitch. And for this one, the bead is going to be on the outside of the water bottle. So the wrong side is actually going to become your right side. Whatever side your bead is showing is going to be the side showing on the outside of the water bottle. Then you're going to skip 3 stitches. And you're not going to put a bead in every stitch or every shell. You can just place the bead wherever you want. If you want to place a bead in every shell, then you just have to put more beads onto your yarn before you start. But otherwise, I'm just going to stagger my beads where I want to place them. And then you're just going to keep skipping 3 stitches and making your shell. All the way back to the beginning and then come back. I just finished my last shell. I have 2 stitches left. I'm going to skip those 2 stitches and just make a slip stitch into the top stitch of the first chain 3 that we made. Then you're going to slip stitch into the first chain 2 space, and then you're going to make a chain of 3, then you're going to make another double crochet, and then chain 2, and then 2 double crochet. And then you're going to make a shell into every chain 2 space around. So you're going to go into the next chain 2 space, make your shell, and then just place your beads wherever you want to have your beads. And you're going to repeat that for however many rows you need to cover your water bottle. And when you come back, I'm going to show you how many rows that I finished. I finished 9 rows for my water bottle, and that finishes just at the rim of the water bottle. If you want to make yours larger, you can keep going. But again, for mine, I've finished at 9 rounds. Then I'm just going to go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. I only made 1 tie for the water bottle, the same size as the one for the beach towel and for the beach shawl. Then you just take your tie and you just weave it in and out the top portion of the water bottle. Then you come out where you started and then just tie your bow. Now if you're making the beautiful covering that would cover over a bathing suit, or it's also can be used as a beautiful shawl, and you want to make the bag for this one, you start it the same way that you did for the water bottle, up to the same point. And then you also are going to do another increase round because you want to make the bag bigger, so you chain 3. 1, 2, 3, and then you do another round of 2 double crochet into every stitch. And then come back. You can see how beautiful it looks so far and how it's getting larger. Then you're going to make a slip stitch into the top stitch of that first chain 3 that you made. And I finished with a total of 48 stitches on that round. Now for the next increase round, you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3, and then you're going to make 1 double crochet into 2 stitches and then 2 double crochet into the third. So this first chain 3 counts as 1. You're going to make 1 double crochet into the next stitch and then 2 double crochet into the third stitch. You're going to repeat that pattern all the way around back to the beginning. I'm going to do one more set with you. So 1 double crochet into 1 stitch, 1 double crochet into the second stitch, and then 2 double crochet into the third stitch. And then repeat that pattern all the way around back to the beginning. After that round, I completed 64 double crochet. Now you're going to make a slip stitch into the top stitch of that first chain 3 that you made. Then you're going to chain 3, 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to make 1 double crochet into the next 2 stitches. Then 3 double crochet into the next stitch. Then 1 double crochet into the next 3 stitches. Then you're going to skip 2 stitches and then work 1 double crochet into 3 stitches. 3 double crochet into the next stitch, then 1 double crochet into 3 stitches, and then you're going to skip 2 stitches and repeat. And you're going to repeat that all the way around. 1 double crochet into 3, 3 double crochet, and then 1 double crochet into 3 stitches all the way around. Now I'm almost back to the beginning. I have 3 stitches left. You can go ahead and finish, make 1 more double crochet. You have 1 extra double crochet. Then you can go ahead and join the round. Then you're ready to start the next round. Now for the beach towel bag, you're going to be making the exact same way. The yarn that I used for my beach towels was by Peaches and Cream. It was the 14 ounce, 400 gram, and the color was Pageantry. And here's a little more information on the yarn. The beach towel that I used was by Mainstays, and here's the size that I had for mine. 100% cotton. For my beach towel bag, I finished a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 rows for the beach towel bag. For the shawl bag, we're going to be working a little bit differently. For the beach towel bag and the shawl bag, you're going to be slip stitching into the next stitch over. So you go into the next stitch over, yarn over and bring the yarn through both loops on the hook, and then you start your chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to make 1 double crochet into a total of 3, and this first chain 3 counts as 1, and then you just repeat the same pattern. 1 double crochet into 3, then 3 double crochet into the center stitch, and then 1 double crochet into 3, and then skip 2, and then repeat all the way around until you have your 19 rows. But for the shawl bag, you can start it the same way, so you can slip stitch over and then chain 3. Then you're going to make another double crochet into the same stitch. Then you're going to chain 2. And then you're going to make 2 double crochet in the same stitch. Then you're going to skip 4 stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then make a double crochet into the 5th stitch. And then you're going to repeat. You're going to make 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, and you're going to repeat this pattern all the way around back to the beginning and then come back. I finished up and I'm back to the beginning. I only have 2 stitches left. You can go ahead and just skip those 2 stitches and make a slip stitch into the top stitch of that first chain 3 that you made. Then you're going to slip stitch into that chain 2 space, and you're going to only be working in the chain 2 spaces from now on. So you're going to slip stitch into that next stitch, and then slip stitch into the chain 2 space. Then you're going to start your next round with a chain of 3. 1, 2, 3. Then you're going to make another double crochet into the same stitch. And then you're just going to make your shell. Chain 2, 2 more double crochet in the same stitch. And you're just going to keep repeating this until you get the size bag that you want. So I finished one shell in the chain 2 space. Now you're going to go into the next chain 2 space, yarn over, go into the next chain 2 space, and make your shell. So 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet in the same chain 2 space. And you're going to repeat that all the way around back to the beginning, and then come back and I'll show you how to move up one more time. This is how my work looks so far. You can see the beautiful shell it's creating for the bag. Then when you reach the beginning, you can make a slip stitch into that top stitch of that first chain 3 that you made. Then you're going to slip stitch into the first chain 2 space, and then you're just going to repeat the pattern until you have the size bag that you want that will fit your shawl or beach cover-up. Go ahead and make a chain of 3, and then you're just going to make your shell. So 2 double crochet, chain 2, 2 double crochet, and you repeat that all the way around, slip stitch and join, chain 3 after you slip stitch to the chain 2 space, and just keep repeating until you have the size bag that you need. This is how my bag looks when I'm done, and if you want the same size bag as me, I made 8 rounds. Then when you're finished with the size that you want, then you can just finish off, just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. Then you just take your tapestry needle put it onto any of your loose yarn ends that you have. And then you're just going to weave your loose yarn ends into your work. So I like to go back and forth and just weave the loose yarn in until it's nice and buried. And then you just cut it. Then you're going to take your other loose yarn end and do the same thing, except with this one you're just going to kind of weave it down to an area where you can bury it nicely. Sometimes I like to go back across. And maybe even go back across one more time. And then you just cut your loose yarn end. And now I'm going to show you how to make the straps. The straps are made the same for all of your bags. The first thing you're going to do is make a chain the length that you want for your tie, and mine is a chain of 70. Then you're going to take your crochet hook, go into the second chain from the hook, bring up a loop, 2 loops on the hook, yarn over and go through both for a single crochet. And then you're just going to make 1 single crochet into every stitch back across. So I'm going to do one more with you. Go ahead, finish making 1 single crochet into every stitch back across, and then come back. This is how my work looks after I finished making one single crochet into every stitch back across, then you can go ahead and finish off. Just yarn over and pull enough yarn through to bury into your work. Now usually what I'll do is I'll just tie the 2 loose yarn ends on the end, just tie a knot, and then I'll bury the loose yarn ends. And you're going to need 2 ties, so go ahead, make your other tie after you bury the loose yarn ends. Here are my 2 ties that I just finished making, and this is how much yarn I have left over after making. This is the 4th skein after making the shawl or cover up and the bag. Then you take your ties and you're going to take and find the center. I'm going to use this as the center holes, and then you can just weave your tie on through one side, going in and out of the shells. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Then once you've placed your shawl on the inside, you can pull the 2 straps . I'm going to go ahead and tie one side. Then you can take and pull the other side. And then you have your bag for the shawl. Here is the beach towel bag, and you can see how I have the ties the same way. I'm just going to weave them on either side of the pattern, just coming out of the holes at the top, the same way that I did for the shawl bag. I'm going to come out of the same hole as my other strap, and I'm going to close it the same way. I'm going to go ahead and tie a bow on one side. And then I'm just going to tie the bag closed on the other side with another bow.